Otto, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, bro.
And thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course.
So-
Very, very happy to be on. Keen.
So for those tuning in, you're a 21-year-old entrepreneur. You've got a multi-million-dollar fashion brand. You've done physical stores. You started this when you were in high school. And to be honest, I'm absolutely blown away about your journey. And I think that other, 20, 21-year-olds, you've achieved so much in such a short amount of time. So I think they're all going to be very, very inspired by what you can do at such a young age.
Thank you, bro. That's very kind. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting.
To kick things off, I want you to take me back to the moment that you were at school in year 12, thinking about this concept, thinking about this brand. Was there someone or something that inspired you to take that entrepreneurial step so early in your journey?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think it's one of the big ones that everyone wants to know. I think for me, it was mostly about realizing that an opportunity to do something cool doesn't come about often, and the risk to reward is very, very small, especially when I was in a very fortunate position where I didn't have much to worry about when I was in school. Very supportive family and friends network, roof over my head and food on the table every night. And I thought, look, a lot of people don't get that privilege, and it'd be rude for me to not try and just go after something that I really, really wanted. And at some point that opportunity goes away, and you have to get serious about things. So I thought, look, just get stuck in and give it a whirl.
Yeah. So what was the opportunity or the light bulb moment that you had? Like, was there someone in your life that, I know for me, when I was at university, I had a mentor. He was my neighbor at the time, and he sat me down and, opened up my mind to the idea of freelancing. That was my first entrepreneurial gig. Because prior to that, I just thought, well, I'm at university, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to get a job. And he was like, hey, there's another way of doing this. Was there a light bulb moment for you going like, hey, wow, there's this opportunity? Was it a YouTube video or like, what was it?
I think it wasn't as such from a one light bulb moment. I think it started when I was a lot younger when I started I did a lot of reselling and little bits and pieces. And I always loved the idea of being able to make money on my own terms. And on my own schedule, and not have to go somewhere to make money. So I do a lot of the importing and selling of random hoodies and, random knickknacks, a lot of the drop shipping and stuff, all the cliche, young entrepreneur type things, as I'm sure you'd know.
Yeah.
And I think to me, I was finding that, after each one of these little ventures, I'm like, okay, cool, made a bit of money, I learned new things, but there's no brand equity out of that. Apart from the money, there's nothing else to really show for it.
Yes.
And as I kind of grew through those years, and I developed the idea of all right, I want to build something that I can have something to show, and something that's attached to my name, and that it becomes part of my life. So I think as coming into year 12, I was like, look, I don't think the corporate path is for me, because that's what I was once very, very set on. And I wanted to just look into something that was a bit more of a blend of creativity, leadership, and freedom. And I think, Sunday was really kind of a intersection of those three main things for me. And then it gave me the fulfillment of that it was something that I was building and it had real value to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Creativity, leadership, and freedom. I resonate very, very strongly with those three pillars.
Big three terms.
So let's say someone's watching and they're in the same position as you were at school. Firstly, they've got the challenge of trying to balance school with these side hustles. But would you say that the best path for them to take is similar to you, where you started, dipping your toes in all sorts of different projects, importing products, reselling? I'm sure you're hustling at school as well. Is that a good place for people to start?
I think so. And I think now especially the resources are just so prosperous and vast, and you can really learn everything from YouTube, which is, and with AI, I know you're a big fan of all the Claude and the opportunities with that. There's so much that you can just indulge into. And I think, I encourage, all my mates and stuff, just go, learn something new. Just there's all these online courses, they're 6-week courses, and you get an actual accreditation from them as well. Just throw yourself at things and then you'll learn. For people that don't really know what to do, I think the best thing is you just keep throwing something at the wall and you'll find something that sticks. I think that's where I kind of go towards.
100%. And I think, for someone like yourself, you've got that ambition, that drive. You had that obviously from a very, very early stage. So it may feel just logical in your mind that it's hey, if you want to do something, just ask AI or just jump onto YouTube,
Yeah.
And then for others, I see them get stuck, and it's sometimes information paralysis. It's like, I need to know everything before I start, or there's just so much info out there. Who do I trust? Where do I go? Where do I even start? Because you've got a million people saying a million different things. What would you say? How do people get clarity when they're starting out with just so much out there?
I think that's a tough one, and it's only become more hard as well because, there is just so much information now as well. And I think it was almost nicer at the start where it's like there wasn't that many answers, and it was like you just had to figure it out. So there's a bit of silver lining to it. But I think for me, I strongly believe in it. It was actually a kind of a quote that I had an ads coach for Meta ads. And she told me, it was like, believe nothing and test everything. And I almost like to take that into what I do as well. It's like, you're always going to hear people's own stories and, what works for them, what works for everyone else. And, I'm like, look, that's all great, but I like keeping, in my own lane. I always refer to I don't really love like horse racing and stuff, but I always think of it as it's when the horses put on the blinkers and they're in their kind of their own lane.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what I like. I like just being able to focus on myself and what I'm doing. And I think just reiterating, just like keep going and, finding new ways to do things and experimentation. I think that's where you really win.
I love that. And believe nothing, test everything. I like that. I feel like I live by that as well.
Exactly.
Okay. So going back to this moment, you're hustling, you're reselling, and then you thought, for me to really take this next step, I need to build brand equity. I need to create something that's bigger than myself. Maybe something that you can sell one day, something where people buy into not just the product that you're selling, but the brand.
Yes.
So what was the process of, building your story, your brand story, and building what now is Sunday?
I think, it took a while to figure out that the brand is really where the value lies. And originally, I think like anyone trying to start a business, you want to just sell things. You just want to get some money through the business and find that proof of concept. But as I had kind of first started that and, things were picking up and coming through, say maybe a year in or something, I then took a step back and I was like, all right, we had plateaued. And I'm like, look, so what is actually then driving? What's the driver behind these sales? Like, it's sure the ads, but then that's just transactional. You don't want to be transactional. I want to have returning customers. I want to have kind of brand equity that people buy into. And then I kind of looked into our story and why I was doing this and really tried to figure out my why and the brand's why. And what I figured out is that I had to kind of rewrite the story and dive into my own personal life and find why I am doing this. And what I landed on was it's the story of kind of Sunday and the founding story is that my dad used to always wear this one called fleece from Target, and he'd wear it to death. And I now wear it, which is kind of the counterintuitive thing. And it was always on the Sunday morning because he was always in corporate finance, like very, very crazy hours. And the Sunday was his one day that he'd be able to chill out, and I would spend like all the time with him. And I just remember coming out every Sunday morning to the lounge room and like the feeling on the cold leather couch, like all that type of thing. Rage on the TV. Like it was just a very, I don't know, everything made sense to me in that moment. And that's when I'm like, I want to make a brand and I want to sell products to people that emulate that feeling and encourage consumers to lean into their own notion of a Sunday morning. And I think as soon as I made that so clear to myself, it changed the way I perceived everything within the business. Not only like designing, but all the marketing, just the way I went about it kind of changed, and it made it so it was much more of a brand and not just a business. I think that's a big thing, like that transition period of like selling things to evolving a brand. Yeah, definitely.
Wow. I love that story. I couldn't help but smile.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Yeah.
Saying that. Yeah, that's really, really good. So often, when you're starting a brand like that, there's, typically one or maybe two levers that you pull that give you that first kind of market penetration. And you already mentioned that you were running ads at this time. Would you say that running paid advertising was how you really broke through and got that first, lot of customers? Or was there something else that kind of set the brand up and, the snowball begins to roll? Like how do you get that first push?
I think I was very lucky at the start to have a lot of friends that wanted to be involved with it and were happy to do, the modeling and help me with the photos and all that. So it was a lot of time where I'd be helped out on that front, and they'd, it was free promotion from all their Instagram accounts, and things would just kind of catch on. And I really leveraged the idea of TikTok being a free advertising platform essentially, and that every post is a new opportunity. So you get a few of the semi-viral posts there, and things would kind of work out. But then ads was what I found was something I really enjoyed. I think it kind of was a perfect concoction of so many things that I like. It's, the creativity, but then like the analytics and how transactional it was, where like you could change one thing and it will lead to another. I really liked that, and just makes sense in my brain. So then I just took a massive deep dive into, the art of paid ads. I would say it's quite an art.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just, really fell into that. I think that's where I see that my value is really kind of proper. Is with all the paid ads. Yeah.
I love that. We're very similar. Like paid ads is, that was my breakthrough. And I often say to people that are, especially if they're getting started on their entrepreneurial journey, that the number one skill is paid advertising, in my opinion, especially for e-commerce. And the intersection, like you said, between data and creativity is such a fascinating place to be in. So I want to talk about that. You seem like you're very heavy on brand. You understand brand, but brand and ROAS don't always go hand in hand. So what do you think is more important? Is it brand or is it ROAS? Would you ever sacrifice one for the other?
I think the way I see it is brand is longevity. Brand is kind of, what's going to matter in 5-10 years. Whereas ROAS, it's like, all right, that's on the day-to-day. And that's something that I value on the day-to-day. But if the ROAS has been bad for a day, I don't let that affect me. But then if your brand, if you have something that tarnishes your brand, that's going to be tarnished forever. So I think I try to keep them quite apart. So I'll generally have, blocks of work that I'll dedicate to brand building and growth and strategy. And then I'll also dedicate time to ads. And I kind of try to switch my mind off of each here and there, and just trying to really segment like where my deep work kind of lands. I think that's how I'd say it.
Makes sense. So the paid advertising landscape has changed so much in the last 5-6 years. I think I first started running ad accounts maybe 7 years ago now, and content is 80%, 90% of the equation, right? You would understand this. But the way content is being consumed and created and what works now is very different to maybe what worked 3-4 years ago. There was a time there where at least my approach was, testing hooks all the time, very much direct response, problem solution, hard CTAs. And then now we're in a world where it's more of the native organic content, the ads that don't feel like ads. I feel like that works for a lot of brands. And Definitely. I've seen your content, and you do the formats that you're testing are great. You're testing a range of stuff, and the content looks native, which is really good. So maybe for people that, are just getting started or are running ads now, but feel that there's room to improve, how do you approach it from like a content strategy? Tell me about that.
I think, for me, the creative side of it is, and I agree with you, it's 90% of it. And the media buying itself has become less and less important, which has changed the way that I operate as well, because I used to be very hands-on in the ad account and doing a lot of that, but now it's more analyzing the data and then feeding the data in from a creative output kind of approach to then, the rest of the team that are responsible for making the ads and briefing on that point. So I think I try to, first of all, I kind of, every week we've got new creative batches coming through, and I base that all off data of what's working in the fortnight prior, and, generally be able to block into kind of 3 or 4 angles. And then I feed that to some of our team that are responsible for kind of all the actual creation of the creatives. And they've also got a very good understanding of how an ad account now works, from understanding the creative like diversity and variety that's needed, and just volume. So I think, we've got a really good process now where it kind of comes from that data point, made into a brief, executed like filmed, taken into editing, and then uploaded into the ad account for me to then distribute as a media buyer. Like I think that just loop works perfectly. And every week just kind of executing on that means that we never are at like a halt where the ad account just slumps and it's always just got something new to work through. But yeah, I think that system also wasn't a thing for a long time, which made it really tricky. But I think now that we've got that set in place, and very set in stone operating procedures, just makes it just like work like a well-oiled machine.
Awesome.
Which is really nice.
And would you say that that's driving revenue more than anything at the moment for you?
I think it's tricky because like I'd often say that like, yeah, I feel the ads are everything. But then, we had a release the other day and we had a 42% returning customer rate. And I'm like,
Amazing.
that can't just be
it's
ads.
Product,
then.
it's community, it's all of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I often say I feel like paid ads amplifies what you're already doing. And that's why I get so excited when I meet brand owners who have had a lot of success without paid advertising.
Yes.
Because I go, wow, let's add fuel to this fire.
Yep.
You mentioned there when you were talking about your process at the end that you are still the ad buyer. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So this is something I want to talk about as well, because, we're taught as entrepreneurs to delegate everything, do it once, create an SOP, find someone else, train them up, or find someone that's better than you once you're in a position to, pay a bit more. But you're still in the weeds, and so am I. And I want to know, why did you want to stay in control of your ad account? What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, it is funny because I believe that as well. I'm like, as soon as anything is I'm doing it twice, I'm like, oh God, no, please take me out of it. But I don't know, it's something about the ads where I really love retaining just full control. I think it has to do also with the amount of money that's going through them. I think it's, ads are 20-25% of the business revenue at the end of the day. And it's a lot of money to kind of be giving to someone else to control. So it's a part of that is a personal thing. But also I just love it. I think I'm just so invested in how things work. I'm just such a nerd with it that it's become like I couldn't imagine my day without analyzing an ad account and seeing what it's like. And I think it also I value like the skill that I've built around it. And I think that's where I bring like quite niche value to the brand. So yeah, there's a degree where I'm like, oh look, like probably is worthwhile getting it outsourced or moving it under someone else's control. But then again, it's like I would always want to see that.
Yeah, same. I feel you. Yeah. So you said that was it a drop recently that you had? So 45% return customer rate.
Which is I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, again, you're building a brand. This is something that's going to stand the test of time, and that's proof of it. And that doesn't necessarily reflect a retargeting campaign or anything like that. It reflects the product. So yeah, talk to me about the importance of product and your journey in creating, what is now the famous hoodie. How did you get there? Were there iterations, different versions? Were you on the ground in the manufacturing facilities? Like, talk to me about that.
Definitely. You pretty much just asked every question that I was going to answer.
Okay.
I think, it started off, I was using a manufacturer that I had found through some of the importing of like, I would sell blank hoodies that just had a nice fit. And I'd sell them for $90 where I'd purchase them for $40 or stuff like that. And then I first found my first manufacturer to do my custom pieces through him, through the whole Alibaba network. And I built through that and, you could never quite get them right the first few times. Anyway, I saw the sampling process and then fabrics were never exactly how I wanted them. And so on. And then we'd use that for maybe the first year. And as I said before, like we hit a plateau and I'm like, what do I do here? And I took a few months off over a Christmas period and I was like, all right, we need to really just reinvent the wheel here, like do something else. And that's what took me over to China. I visited my now current manufacturers there and really just, I delved into fabric and finding things that were niche to what Sunday can offer. And that, finding those private mills where they custom weave things to you and exactly how you want it. And it was like almost like how I'd imagine it in my head was how it has now come into real life, which is just awesome. And I think also part of it is I had a manufacturing company approach me and they'd flown down from Perth to meet me. And they are now like kind of my rock, like for manufacturing. And I took a big risk on them last Black Friday. It was the first order I'd ever placed with them and it was a huge PO and they just kind of completed it with delivered perfectly. So I think from then it's like, it's about that mutual trust. And just knowing that through the reins of manufacturing, you can just and another one of the things that they say is, look, if you can dream it, then it can be done. Like
Yeah.
China is just next level.
It's next
just
level. Yeah, we
do
do
anything.
a lot of business in China. I got back 2 days ago.
Yep.
We have a warehouse in Shanghai and one in Shenzhen. And I was actually visiting manufacturing facilities as well last week. And just the level of scale that they have. And like you said, if you can dream it, they can do it. So I think for anyone that's looking to source a product, if they do have the opportunity to get themselves over there, it's just a no-brainer. And seeing it in person and being able to spend time with them and actually make changes and customize on the spot rather than going
Big
backwards
time.
and
It's
forwards.
invaluable.
It's so good.
Definitely.
Would you say that the manufacturing part is like your main passion, or is it more the advertising part of it? What part of the business are you like, this is just my jam and like really lights your soul on fire?
I think I've got quite a mix of it all, which is really nice. And I think that's what retains so much fulfillment and stimulation, is that I can kind of always be keen on little parts, and I'll always want to do little parts. So I think, I love being involved in the design process and, sharing my ideas, and then I also love the creative direction and being on set and styling and stuff like that. But then I also love the ads, and I love knowing what's happening in the finance world and being involved in that. So it's, I don't know, I think at the end of the day, it's I always think it's good to work with good people. And I think now that I've got a team that's just, everyone's so great, and always just, it's just such a pleasure to come into the studio where it's like everyone is doing exactly like all their jobs and it's just perfect. Everyone's happy, just killing it. It's like, well, it makes it so nice to then get involved,
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned before, you said there was kind of 3 pillars there that, you really value in business and life, and one of them was leadership. So talk to me about when you first stepped into that leadership role. Maybe it was your first hire. How was that experience?
Different. Yeah, definitely. Very, very daunting, I think. Being able to hand over kind of responsibility was something that I was quite not very good at, I think. And I am very perfectionist, hands-on. I think anyone who starts their own business, it's like their little baby, like they've built it up, and they don't want to give parts of it away. But I think, it's one of those things. And that's one of the things my dad said to me earlier on. It's like, look, the business is as big as it is with only one person. Like, what can you do when you expand out? Like you can't, they can't, there's the ceiling when it's just you. I'm like, okay. So my first hire was our current head of CX. And I needed help on the emails. And I was like, I can't handle the emails. And so I found him on, his name's Kenny. And he'll hate me talking about him because he's very behind the scenes. And but he's just a gem of a guy. So he's been with us for 3 years now or something.
Wow.
And just gone through the ranks. So he now manages a team of 4 agents and just does all of our, SOPs and just constantly reiterating and making things work. But I think, from the start, it was all about seeing that there is value in delegation, and that delegation is an art as well, and being able to, let go of the reins a little bit, and provide that autonomy and ownership to someone else. That's something I really value. And I think how I've been able to become a good leader, or at least I think I'm a good leader, is make people feel like they're within the business, like provide this entrepreneurship as opposed to entrepreneurship. Like they're a business owner inside your business, and they can manage parts on their own, with autonomy. And I think that's where you really get the good results, where people really want to dive into their work, and feel like they're really helping something. I think that's what's great.
Yeah, I love that. I often talk about this as well, entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship, and you find those people with those qualities, and it can completely transform your business,
big time.
Overnight. I feel now more than ever, especially in e-commerce, the idea of needing a big team to grow a very big business is starting to become less and less relevant. And I'm seeing these brands that are turning over insane amount of money with very, very small teams. And there's definitely a benefit and advantage there, being agile and being able to move as a small unit. And this is coming from a place of like having managed bigger teams and also very small teams across different businesses. So what's your thought there? Is, what does your headcount look like? Is it going to get bigger? Are you looking at how you can use AI and agents to just make your people even more efficient?
Big time.
What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I agree. I used to always think, a big team equals big success. And it was always the amount of people that work for you. Because that's often a question everyone asks, or anyone that's not really in the world, they go, oh, how many you got working for you now?
Yeah.
And that is then
It's an
seen
ego
as a
thing.
measure of success. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would always want to be like, oh, I've got a huge team, like all these people, like everyone's relying on me. I'm paying all this payroll, like. But now I'm less like that. I'm
The
like,
flex is the opposite now.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's like two of us, and
Yeah.
we're doing all this. It's like,
Yeah.
but I think, yeah, I'm much more in favor to hire when you need to hire, and just increase responsibility instead of trying to get other people. I think if you've got someone that's willing, and super hardworking and is eager to learn, if you can give them more responsibility and they've got the hunger to take on more responsibility, give it to them and train them up. I think I now value that more than anything. And that's what I'm finding. I'm now just being like, oh, can you actually, come onto the payroll full time, like instead of, we'll contract for 2 days a week or something, but we'll get someone else to do this and that. I'm like, I like being able to, and I think it also ties back to, building this sense of brand, and rapport with your staff, like being able to, go out for dinners and drinks and everyone's in it and everyone's, feels like they're coming to work every day and it's their life.
Yeah.
As opposed to, they come in for 2 days and then they've got to go work another part-time job to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Thinks, yeah.
So what you're talking about there is culture.
Definitely.
And, culture, in my opinion, is energy as well. So how do you build that in? Because I think there's a generational thing going on here as well, where, a few decades ago, you'd go to work, you'd clock in, you'd clock out, you'd leave, and if you can really build a culture where work and life, that separation, when they merge, I think that's when, you have a superstar team and you can move mountains together.
Definitely.
How do you break those boundaries?
I think for me, it's been about just allowing them all to see parts of the business that their role on paper wouldn't allow them to see. I think it's even like the shoot this morning. I was like, come down, everyone should have a look. Everyone should come visit.
Okay, like
and
customer support team, come to the
exactly.
shoot.
Just like have a look and just like learn what everyone does. Like meet, the photographer or the filmmakers that aren't in the studio every day. Allowing everyone to see niche aspects that like they wouldn't normally. I think that makes them feel so involved. I think I really like that. I think we used to be in a co-working space, like near to where I live in Camberwell. And I found that was too corporate. It was too kind of clinical. And so I moved us to a little studio in Canterbury. And even that has been such a switch, like being able to, lock up and everyone's in there and, we go and have a wine or something. I think
love it.
That makes it so much nicer.
And environment changes everything.
Time.
It's such a huge factor of it all.
Definitely.
Yeah. Wow. Managing people comes with its challenges. What would you say has been the most difficult part of building a team, managing people? I think it's finding that sweet spot between, friendship and, employee, I suppose.
And I'm big on the fact of, energy and culture and making people feel like they want to come to work. But then it's also, there's a fine line where there is a job to do and this is a business. But I think that also comes down to just respect. I think if there's a mutual respect where everyone knows what they're meant to be doing, and if they respect me, they're going to get it done, and vice versa. I think it's definitely like, if it's also intertwined with feedback, and I think how quickly you can give that constructive criticism, and deliver it in a way that's well received. I think I've been able to teach myself kind of another style of communication, with criticism and feedback, especially as I went from, working just to me, and all those conversations would be in my own head. And now it's, you have to tell people. And I think being able to have that relationship that's strong enough to say it how it is straight away, as opposed to beat around the bush, have it something come wrong to your desk and like, oh God, let me just fix it. I'll be like, no, what do you think? You fix this. And really like encouraging thought. I'm big on that.
Absolutely.
I'm like, I want you to come to me with what you think and then we can discuss it together. But don't just come and ask me what I want.
Yes.
I'm like, no, you come to me with some thoughts and some options and then we build on that together. I think I'm more like that.
That's great. Yeah, and that's really good advice for anyone listening. Like that's the approach you've got to take. So in recent times, you've got into the physical side of things as well, retail.
Yes.
I know you've got multiple pop-ups you've had, and you've also got a store here. So tell me more about, you were online first, retail second. What made you want to get into the retail space?
I think a lot of people think it's funny because there is such a misconception around e-commerce and the amount of money that you can make and the scale that things can grow online. So everyone thinks that, when you go retail, now you're making big money, but it's the complete opposite.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like you can't make as much money in stores, and I knew that, but it really cemented it when we opened the store in Chadstone, and I'm like, why have we only done this much on the opening day? Whereas I drop the 2 days prior, it's like nuts. But then you realize, well, not everyone can check out at once in store, but you can online. So I think I reevaluated things. I'm like, but this is credibility. This is brand building. This is more for marketing. Having a physical touch point where people can come in, see what you're about. I loved being in there, being able to show my face and speak to people. And yeah, we're rebuilding the Chadstone store now, which is exciting. So it's going to be very our world, essentially. And so that's, I'm very keen to get back in there and just, I loved having that touch point with customers and the team, and it's just a different, breaks up the day a bit more as well. Yeah, I think that's what I think. I'm like, oh, there's so much more to it than just sales coming through. Like that's a whole nother ballpark. But yeah, I've been loving it so far.
Wow. And there's a lot of risk there. You're taking on leases, you're hiring more people. So yeah, how did you kind of muster up, the will to go, okay, I'm gonna do this, and not having done it before? I mean, the pop-ups were probably validation for you a little
Definitely.
bit. Was it?
I think, and that's how Chadstone works as well. They took a risk on us to allow us to pop up over there on last Christmas. And, normally they test you out in other centres to see if you're actually worthwhile bringing into, biggest shopping centre in the Southern Hemisphere. But they took a risk on us, which I'm very thankful for. And they've been awesome. And I think, we proved them that we're meant to be here. And from that, I was like, look, we can do it. So when I got handed it into, a 6-year lease. So it's you're really,
Wow.
and that's the minimum for Chadstone. So it's really, you're fully committing.
No way. Okay.
And I remember driving home from Chadstone when I'd signed it, and I was just like, I'd just like kind of chuckled to myself, and I'm just like, no way, like what am I doing? Like no way I did this. But I think it's almost like if you're scared and you can feel that like kind of those nerves, like that's good. And I love that feeling when it's like, this is so risky that it's like kind of gives you that burn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now it's go. Like
You're
it's
in
really
the right spot. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you said before, no risk, no reward. It's all risk taking.
Yeah.
So when it comes to risk, because like a muscle, it's something that, in my opinion, you train, you get better at over time. And honestly, intuition comes into place when it comes to risk taking. Just having taken risks and seen the bad side of it, the good side of it, and then over time you get better at it. What has risk taught you? How has it shaped you as a person?
I think I've learned to be able to shift from such a transactional approach where my emotions are so involved with the business. And I'm sure you'd be the same. Like every founder will be the same, is that, as I said before, when you build it up, it's your baby. Like you are so emotionally attached. But I think being able to switch that off to a degree and act more kind of logically and really just, act with more precision and practicality as opposed to all this reactive energy that's like, oh gosh, like I don't know what to do. Like let me switch off this and change that and cancel this. And I think risk is and my appetite for risk has grown, but then the way I see spending money on business things has become less emotional, and I like to see it. I think one of my almost turned into a bit of a mentor. The first guy that I was working with at Chadstone, and he said to me, "Look, you got to treat money at Chadstone like they're tokens, because if you can't make money in Chadstone, you can't make money anywhere. So you treat the lease like it's kind of nothing, and it's an entry fee to pay to play the game."
Yep.
And I'm like, that really stuck with me, and now I relate that to ads, to purchase orders. It's like, look, well, if you don't spend it, it's not there to happen. So who's to know? So I think, really just remove myself from the emotional side of it, which has been really tricky because I am quite a emotional person and quite in touch with all that stuff. So being able to, switch off from time to time and try and just, remove myself from that side of the business has been good. But
is there anything that you do, whether it's like daily practices or certain moments that you have to get out of that highly emotional state, to get back down to a place of clear, calm clarity to then make decisions when it comes to risk?
Big time. I think even as simple as I deleted Shopify off my phone was a big thing. Like I would get so emotional with what's happening for down to the minute.
Just the dopamine hits
yes.
as well. It's like,
and I couldn't do it. So I deleted that. Even just started going on little walks and stuff just to clear my head. I think having set times where I'm, meeting my best mates for coffee or, have a steak night planned out, knowing that that's, and I've said this to them, it's like, it's the one time throughout the week where I don't think about work, and it's nice because it's a reset. But I think also having such a great support network with my family and my friends, knowing that they're always there for me, and that, at the end of the day, business is business, and my happiness and my mental health is more important than that. So
absolutely,
yeah.
So on that note, in terms of your priorities, and taking a step outside of the business now, and talking more generally about life as well, what are your priorities now, and where do you see yourself going? Like if you look 2-3 years into the future, what does that feel like for you, and what are you really optimizing towards?
Yeah, I think my mind is always changing regarding this. I think, it changed a week ago when the budget came out. But I think for me, it's about I now want to get to a point. I'm now building towards a point where I want to have no financial drive to work. I want to work because I want to work, and I'm not working for money. So I want to get to a point where I can be happy and healthy, and everyone's taken care of, but I'm not consistently just working to see a return. And I think that's my main thing. I think, I always say that there's I've got 3 pillars for success. I think mine is, I think it's things, it's pride, and it's fulfillment. So it's like the things aspect is like, I like buying myself things. I like nice things, but then it's also, looking after my friends and family and, nice dinners and showing that level of appreciation for, my family that have paid for me for how many years. And giving back in that sense as well. I think it's now I want to pivot to a point where I can start thinking about the future. And I'm very big into my investing, and I love that, and being financially wise and making good decisions on that front as well. I think it's all kind of changing to be, I need to think like I'm a little bit older than I am. But it's, important, I think, No, you definitely strike me as someone that's, far beyond your age. It's amazing to see. So at Future, we had the privilege of partnering with you recently to help handle your fulfillment. Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about fulfillment because it's such a big piece of the puzzle that we haven't spoken about yet. I'm assuming that when you started, you were doing all the fulfillment yourself?
Yeah, it was all, it was in-house we have like a 3PL set up in China that's like distributes to other smaller 3PLs. And we're realizing, if we just, in terms of margin as well, shipping directly from overseas is just too hard. And we lose so much money. Right. And then I ran the numbers. I remember speaking to Mungo last year or so. Early this year, and I was running the numbers. I'm like, if I had shipped with you guys for Black Friday, it's like, $100,000 extra profit. I'm like, just hurts, but it's like, something like that.
Yeah, right. And so what was you made the switch because you realized that there was money to be saved as well. What else do you think, like if someone streamlines their fulfillment, gets the right partner, what else does it do for the business?
I think it just takes away a lever of stress, knowing that it's all under control, and that things are taken care of, that normally for a lot of other businesses are left, in their own hands. And I think, look, you might save a few dollars doing it yourself and packing the orders yourself, but is it worthwhile, taking that away from your deep work time to then have to think about which staff are going to go in and pack your orders. I just think like that. I think, it's opportunity cost as well. And yeah, I love the idea that, and what drew me to Future so much was that you guys are it's a young business. You work for the modern e-commerce brand. There's all these dinosaur 3PLs that are just like, run by these 55-year-old men that are just, it's all archaic businesses that aren't built for e-commerce. They don't understand it. And I think that's, you coming from an e-commerce background as well, it's built for us. And I think that's what I love. And then it's all just, even visiting the Dandenong, one of the Dandenong warehouse, like, this is lovely. Like in here, like everyone's so great. I don't know. It's very refreshing. It feels like an extension of my team as well. And it's like, I love being able to go in there and it's like, cool, here's, my staff, here's everything being packed. Like, just great. I think that's what's really special. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for us, it's a privilege to partner with someone like yourself.
You,
that's really why, we started the business, to support people like you. And the fact that we're able to be part of your growth journey as well is just awesome to see. Yeah. We want to see you win.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly. It's a you scratch my back, I'll scratch your situation.
Yeah. Exactly. That's right. Well, look, again, I think this is going to be so inspiring for people, especially that are just getting started and, whether they're in high school or they've just finished school and they're trying to work out next. I think your story is just one of those things that is very eye-opening and makes you realize what is possible, providing that you've got a good reason to do what you're doing and you're ready to put in the work, because it's not easy.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah. So for you, I guess between now and the rest of the year, we've got Q4 is approaching, fast approaching. What are you most excited for?
Oh gosh, there's quite a few things. I think we were looking at kind of the master calendar the other day, and we're like, well, we've got not much free time between now and the end of the year. I think mostly the reopening of Chatty in a whole new look that's tailored to us. I think that'll just be awesome. Being able to have that locked in permanent store that's just a central kind of flagship for us is really exciting. I think we've got a pop up in Sydney in July, which will be great. Another little presence. Got a featuring in a fashion show next month in Sydney as well, which will be awesome.
Wow.
I don't know, just little things that just kind of gets me excited that it's new things to talk about, new things to just indulge in. I think all that, and then obviously being involved with Future and really just allowing for some easy 3PL. My mind doesn't have to worry about things. I think all that, it's exciting.
Awesome. Well, it's been great to chat. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, if people do want to learn more about Sunday, buy their products, where can they go?
I would visit our website, sundayoz.com, and have a look on Instagram as well, which is sunday.oz.
Yeah, and if people want to keep up with your personal journey as well, where should they go?
I've more recently tried to get more into the personal world. I'm posting a little bit more. So have a look at my Instagram, which is just Otto Schiffer. So my first and last name.
Nice. Very good. Awesome. Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.